there I was in Korea, and it was the day before I was going to get kicked out of Korea, and I had to find a job in 1 hour. I was on the train going to Busan, and I made a phone call, one phone call, and that was my only phone call I could get before we went under the tunnel to be able to get a job. And I basically only had like 7 seconds to do it, to make the call, to get the number. And I knew the number and I called. And I had made the application, but I didn't know if I had the job or not. I look at you now and I say, I was really stupid to get on that train, did not make that phone call first. But I got on the train and then I made the phone call. And I got I got this job in Ilsan to work to teach English for this school, and I need to get my visa papers worked out first before I could begin. And I was going to begin as soon as I got those papers, and that was in 2 weeks. They were starting their class, and actually we had 2 days and 2 weeks. If I didn't get those papers by that time, I could not get the job. And if I could not get the job, I could not stay in Korea. And if I could not stay in Korea and get the job, then I'd be broke in Korea, homeless. I couldn't even find a way to get back home to America. I was praying, Heavenly Father, you had to make this work. And so I called, and then the owner just happened to answer the phone. And the miracle is the owner never answers the phone. Because here it is, somewhere after 9 o'clock at night, somewhere on the train, on the way to Busan, and no one's ever in the office, and I only have the office number, and so I think, Heavenly Father, this may not work. And it turns out the owner just got to the office, and he was only there for like 20 minutes, and I got him in this 20-minute period. That is a miracle. And said, yeah, we will hire you. We like you. But you have to get those papers within the time period. Otherwise, we can't hire you, and we'll get the next person on the list. So that was another thing I forgot to say. But yeah, that's what this was all about. And so then he agreed to send the papers to the embassy in Japan. And I had to pick them up in the embassy in Fukuoka City. And I had no idea how to find this embassy in Japan. And it was a Techizuki. I forgot how to say papers, but it was at the Techizuki, and I remember that it was really a difficult thing to go from English to Japanese, and I lived out of a Japanese dictionary for 2 weeks. And my wife's family had many issues, and they were not really welcoming. And because my father-in-law had to go visit his family in Kagoshima City, he said that I couldn't stay with him for about 5 days. So I was living on the street for 5 days. And so there I was, and I slept in the park, and I got up in the morning, and I didn't have money for food and nothing at all, because he didn't give me any money. He just said, you can't stay here. And so I decided, I would do my research about Japan and America and these things, and I really felt the Korean people were so polite and so kind, and they were really deep heart. But the Japanese people, not one spoke English. Not one would be willing to tell me how I could get from here to there. So I had to make my own map. I had to make my own idea of where things were. I had to draw little pictures of what things looked like as they were there, and figure out all these things all by myself. And I said, Heavenly Father, you crazy guy, why did you make it like this? Why did you make people so mean to each other? And I said, well, that's me. I'm mean to each other. I'm mean to myself. I'm not even giving myself the benefit of the doubt here. Look what Heavenly Father has done for me. He has brought me so far. How is he going to forsake me now in Japan? He is not going to forsake me. And so because I did not lose faith at all, and because I went through my wilderness period, and everybody has to go through the wilderness period, and I calculated it was 210 hours. And I thought that was a very, very interesting number, considering the providential time period of history and how things work. And so then that made me think 12, 4, 21, 40 restoration and how history repeats itself through the periodic history of with 2.5% accuracy. And I said, well, that means we're getting close to the end. That means it's only 400 hours left to go. And sure enough, it was actually not that many days later that I was able to get my Tetrazuki. I forgot the word for blue, but anyway, it was this blue paper from the Tetrazuki. I can't really remember how to say it in Japanese, but that's what it was. The miracles that happened here was, it came on the day that my ticket back to Korea was there. But my ticket for Korea was in the morning. And so I had to get back to the airport at like 9 o'clock. And I had to get to an 11 o'clock international flight. And no one knew where DHL was located. My father didn't ever heard of DHL. And nobody knew of DHL. Nobody knew what DHL was. No one knew where it was. And so I called everywhere, did everything, and I finally figured out after calling, with an international phone card that I got from being at Cheongbuk with Mrs. Kim. She gave me these international phone cards to use when I there for 10 cents a minute, and they were also good in Japan. And that was a miracle because nothing's good in Japan, but they happened to work because I didn't have any money. And so I called Tokyo, and they said, oh, it's located in this town 20 minutes away. And so my grandfather, actually my father, he's an old man, 83 years old, and he doesn't drive anymore because his vision is so bad. And so I have to ask him to help me to go pick up my blue paper. Oh, he comes back. Oh, I forgot this part. I was at the bookstore, and I'm at the bookstore, and he comes into the bookstore, and then he sees me at the bookstore. He says, oh, you can come home now. so yeah.